Hi, this is Dave. So, are you humble? What? Yeah, are you humble? So, we're talking about the qualities of a successful business leader. I've been doing a series on what I believe are the qualities of character of somebody who is a successful business leader. In previous podcast, I said the qualities of character in the CEO were a more important indicator of business success than the business model itself. And in this podcast and several of the past ones, I've been talking about what I believe are those qualities of character. So we're going to look at another one today, and that one is humility. So first, a disclaimer. And that is, this is just one person's point of view. It is not the result of some, Harvard Business School study of 10,000 business owners. Instead, it is the result of my personal and anecdotal experience. Now, having said that, I've got a lot of that personal and anecdotal experience. I've spoken to and with literally thousands of business executives in the U.S. and other countries. I've personally and contractually worked with over 459 of them. I have, I believe, achieved a breadth of experience in the world of business that hopefully, coupled with a little touch of wisdom, has some validity. So that's my disclaimer. Now, with that behind us, let's get into the subject. So in previous podcast, I mentioned these character traits: an unquenchable work ethic, an ability and propensity to learn, a continuous quest for more, unwavering self-control, and integrity. So to that list of character traits of successful business people, to that list I'm adding, quote, a pervasive sense of humility. Humility. Now I know on the surface it seems like an unlikely candidate for a leader. However, once you understood it, it becomes a bedrock trait and a powerful asset in the psyche of an effective business leader. So first, let's understand it. Humility is often defined as the quality of being humble, and the dictionary defines humble as, quote, showing a modest estimate of one's own importance. Synonyms include meek, deferential, and respectful. It is often confused with an idea of weakness, which is overly self-deprecating. There's nothing weak about humility. In fact, it takes more strength to exhibit humility than it does to default to its opposite, and its opposite is pride. Pride is easy, humility's tough. The greatest example, I think, comes from the pages of the Bible and the story of Moses. You may remember that he was tasked with one of the greatest leadership challenges of all time: to lead the entire nation of Israel, hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children, with all of their herds, all their possessions, to lead them out of Egypt, through the desert, and into the promised land. And as the primary character trait that equipped this 80-year-old leader for the task was humility. I'm going to quote a passage here from the book of Numbers, chapter 12, verse 3. Quote, "Now Moses was a very humble man, humbler than anyone else on the face of the earth." Moses was the most humble person. Humility is not about self-deprecation or weakness. And there's nothing phony about it. Rather, it is having an accurate view of one's own role and an objective understanding of one's own set of skills and characteristics. C.S. Lewis writes that the truly humble man will not be thinking about humility. He will not be thinking about himself at all. Because it occupies such a visible space in both Christian and Jewish traditions, it's difficult to talk about it outside of its spiritual domain. It's interesting, I think, that of all the world's major religions, it is uniquely a Christian virtue. articulated and promoted by the writers of the various Bible books and embodied in the person of Christ. It was Christ who said, quote, "Blessed are the meek and humble, for they shall inherit the earth." That's a pretty big promise, but it's indicative of the ultimate power of humility to influence others. There is something about humility that attracts people. The humble person is easy to be around and speaks with an authenticity that is unusual. There is, however, a quiet power that oozes out of humility. It attracts sincere people and gains influence and eventually subdues its more arrogant opposites. It is the virtue that bridges the gap between our purely physical urges and the spiritual part of us. Clearly, there is something about humility that speaks to our higher nature. But this podcast is not a treatise on the spiritual implications of humility, but rather on the business advantages of it. So, why is humility a powerful trait for a business leader? Well, whereas pride repels people, humility makes one approachable. There is something both attractive and compelling about the humble person. Since the truly humble person will, quote, not be thinking of himself at all, it follows that he or she thinks more about everyone else. So whether we are employees or associates or vendors or customers, we gain a sense that we are important to the leader with humility, just because he or she is not that important to himself or herself. So we can voice our ideas comfortably and confidently because they will be viewed on their own merits and not compared to the leader's own. We can try new things unafraid of failure because the humble leader accepts his or her own failures. In short, the humble leader creates a climate in the organization that allows people to be themselves without fear of fault-finding, reprisal, or humiliation. By crushing those hindrances, the humble leader unleashes the strengths and spirits of those around him and allows them to flourish. I'm reminded of the lyrics from a song Bette Midler made famous. Remember, you are the wind beneath my wings. Humble leaders help the people around them to soar. And that's why it's one of the key character traits of the most successful business leaders. It's something to build into your personal character and your corporate culture. Humility. Hey, before I go, I thought I'd just once again remind you about the opportunity you have with the XI community. XI is an online community. By the way, XI stands for Excellence and Influence. It's an online community dedicated to helping sales leaders and Christian business people reach their potential, become excellent in what they do, and gain influence. That's why we call it XI, Excellence and Influence. So it costs all $5 a month. I know, $5 a month. But hey, the reason we charge $5 a month is because we're not so much concerned about your money. We're concerned about your engagement. We want people who will be actively involved in the online community. So if that's you meet that criteria, then check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes. It is a one-stop shop for content to help you reach your potential, as well as connections with like-minded people, the XI community. Okay, that's it for today. We're done. Bye-bye.